Hey there, I'm Michael, and I'm going to show you through how to use the Lil'Flo system. The first thing you need to do is open up Chrome. It's the only web browser that really works. And go to lilflo.com. Once you're there, you're going to want to log in. And then once you're logged in, you'll see a list of robots you have access to. So go ahead and connect to the Lil'Flo robot. And here's the interface we get. From here, I can see and hear everything that the robot can. It's a full telepresence system. So I have a camera that's facing down, so I can see kind of the robot's arms and a subject if they're in or a patient if they're interacting with the robot. I also have a forward-facing camera, a fisheye camera, then I can see myself. Some stats about the robot, so I can see if it's if Wi-Fi, for example, is dropping out, so I know before it gets lost. And then I can see a rendering of the humanoid portion of the robot. So I can drag that around, and it shows me where the arms are. To drive the robot, I just click in this little circle, and I can go forward, backwards, forwards, left, right, and it just kind of works just like a gamepad. The robot has a series of faces, some of which we've found to work well, and other faces as well. So we've got a default happy face. The robot can be jovial, mischievous. It can be sad or very sad. And we'll just leave it the happy default. And you can change the brightness of this, and for some eyes, you can also hit which direction they're going in. The robot can speak as well. And so you can just type in what you want it to speak and press speak.
Hello, I'm Lil'Flo.
And then you can control the volume of the robot here. So you can want it to be louder.
Hello, I'm Lil'Flo.
Or quieter. You also have the ability to turn on and off captions. I'll turn them off. And there are no more captions. So those are the basics of the face speaking. The next thing is poses. So in order to move the robot around, which is really the heart of what makes this robot different than other telepresence systems, is these poses and sequences. And so the way that this works is you have poses are saved for only one arm at a time. They mirror across, so you can set it for either arm. And we stack these poses together to make a sequence. And the sequences are ordered so that each sequence happens some amount of time after the prior pose. So here, if I were to run it like this, say right arm, left arm, and let me actually pick any other two things. So say I wanted to go to open clapping position, and I ran it like this. Then what you'll see is that the two arms get there at very different times, because the first arm got there at 2 seconds, and the second one got there 2 seconds after the first one, so at 4 seconds. So let's go ahead and send that back to neutral. So if I wanted to get to where it's clapping open, then I would make that second one 0. So now the left arm will get there at the same time as the right arm. We'll see that here, and that looks great. So let's say I wanted to build a full clapping sequence. Then I would add some clap closed. One too many. And I'm going to make these alternate left and right, following the same pattern. And then I'm going to make them all a little bit faster so it looks a little bit better. Okay, so then we can go ahead and try to run that. And when you see the hands go through that sequence pretty well. So then the next thing you might want to do is you might actually want to save that sequence. And so I can go ahead and save that. I can save it as a new sequence and give it a description, or I can save it as an existing sequence. And so I'm just going to save this one I already have. And then now when we want to play that sequence again, we just click over here, and the sequence is immediately ready for us to play. Perfect. Okay, so that's how you make sequences. So now how did we get the poses in the first place? Well, there are two ways. The hard way is to transfer over the current joint positions of one of the arms and then manipulate them manually. So I'll make the shoulder move up a little bit. And as you can see, that right arm moved, and then I could go ahead and I can click Save Pose here. We'll call that a new pose. It's on the right arm, so just. And then now, if we wanted to go back to that pose, then we can do that. So we'll go back to neutral, and then we'll go to that new pose we just created. Okay, much easier than that is to press relax motors here and then actually move the robot physically to a pose you want, and in the same sequence. You go through save a pose, and the pose will show up here. And so now you have everything you need to be able to do some basics. So you can have the robot talk. You're, of course, talking at the same time. You can have the robot's face change. And you can have it move around as well to demonstrate things, or to, if you wanted to ask a subject to, touch the hand on the robot, that sort of thing. So you can see them reaching forward. That's all there. To get a little bit richer of interactions, we have this idea of these games. And these games are controlled by game buckets. So the two games we have right now are Simon Says and Target Touch. In Simon Says, subjects are asked to mirror the poses of the robot, with some instructions not having Simon Says, and so it being a little bit of a game. And then in Target Touch, they're asked to, the robot presents its two hands in different positions, and subjects are asked to touch dots on the hands through positions. So let's go ahead and build a bucket for a Simon Says game. So we come down here to this game buckets, we hit add item. Let's say we want to start off by having them clap their hands. And so we say what we want, clap hands. See, I selected sequence and I selected clap. We can go ahead and add that. And then we can add, let's say we want on the right arm, touch shoulder. And we can do that. And then we'll do one more. Maybe we'll do with the left arm. We want them to raise their hand. We'll tell them to raise their left arm. Okay, so we can go ahead and save this bucket. We'll save it as a new bucket. The name will be, call it Demo 2, and we're going to make sure it's selected as a Simon Says type game. Okay, so now let's go ahead and play that bucket we just created through Simon Says. So we'll click the Simon Says button in Games, click on the bucket we just created, and you have two options here for how the game is played. Either using one arm at a time for poses, or two. So essentially what it looks at is, with bimanual, it's going to make sure that in every action both arms are being used. So instead of just having, wave with your right arm, it'll be wave with your right arm and touch the top of your head with your left arm. In unimanual, it would just do one thing, so just wave with your right arm or just touch the top of your head with your left arm. Because it's such a small bucket, we'll just stick with unimanual. And so you have complete control here.
In Simon Says, I will tell you something to do and show you how to do it. Mirrored. If I say Simon Says, you should do it with me. If I do not say Simon Says, you should not do the action. Watch out, I may try to trick you. After every movement, return to a ready position.
Okay, and so then you can press next.
Simon Says, clap hands.
And if your patient or subject did a great job, then you can, of course, here tell them that they're doing a great job. And you can also have the robot tell them that.
You're super good at this. Simon Says, raise your left arm.
And let's say they didn't do such a good job at that, then you can ask them to try again.
Let's try that again together. Simon Says, raise your left arm.
Let's say they're still not quite getting it, and this time you want to tell them, I really want you to try to straighten out your elbow, okay? It's a Lil'Flo. Why don't you give that another go?
Simon Says, raise your left arm.
And there I pressed repeat instead of try again.
Simon Says, touch your shoulder. Touch your shoulder.
See here, sometimes there is no Simon Says.
That was a lot of fun. Thanks for playing with me.
Okay, fantastic. Go ahead and finish that game. For Target Touch games, I'm just going to briefly show you how those buckets end up looking. So I'll just load a Target Touch game that we already have in place. And so essentially here, we have poses that match up to the points on the robot's hands. And the only important thing here is actually this whole text needs to be here. It just needs to have the color and the hand to use. So let's go ahead and we'll just run a little bit of that one. Here we'll select that bucket. the number of repetitions per point, so how many times each hand is going to hit each point. And then the way this is done is it's actually a sequence. So think of, any sort of sequence following game where it'll be like left hand red, right hand blue, and then maybe like left hand blue or something like that. And so you can select a number of steps in those sequences. So lower numbers for people who are having a tougher time cognitively, and higher numbers for people who are having an easy time cognitively to challenge them. I'll just go with those defaults. All right, so we'll play this more complete game. It's actually got all the poses available on the robot saved in already.
In the target touch activity, I will tell you
I'm just
to
going to
touch
skip
the
past
dots
the
on my
speaking.
left hand yellow, right hand yellow, right hand yellow, go. Left hand blue,
And you can see that
right
as the
hand blue,
command
left
change,
hand
the actual
blue,
hands that are
right
available
hand blue,
also change.
go.
I want to highlight again that you can see the text the robot has been saying down here, so you know what it asked
Left hand
the person to do.
yellow, right hand blue, go.
And so you can see that it
Right
develops this, and
hand
the game will be
yellow.
randomized every
Yeah.
time, so it'll be a little bit different every time. I think that's good enough. We can go ahead and quit that game. Okay, fantastic. That is the basics of using the interface. The last thing is that when interacting with subjects for research, it's very helpful if we can record the interactions. That allows us to do various tracking of them later on. And so pressing the start recording button is how you do that. And you can see that it says recording, and on the screen that's by the subject, it will also say recording. We'll go ahead and stop that. It's important you stop it when you're done, otherwise it'll run out of memory. And then when you're done with the robot, you can just go home. If at any point you get disconnected, you can always just return to lilflo.com and reconnect. That's all there is to it for working with the Lil'Flo system.
Clap hands.